Genetically modified foods. What are they? Why does it even matter? Isn't it just hybrid? I mean, haven't people been crossbreeding plants for ages and we've been just fine? These are the kinds of questions that I get asked pretty frequently by believers, and I believe it's really, really important and vital that we understand exactly what genetically modified organisms are and how that impacts our bodies as well as our environment and our souls. But before we get started, don't forget to click that subscribe button and hit that bell so you get notified every time a new video goes live. All right, GMOs, what are they? Well, first, the simplest thing is to define the acronym. Genetically Modified Organism is what GMO stands for. And no, this is not even close to the same as hybridization or crossbreeding of plants. Because by definition, a GMO is using, it's an artificial manipulation of the genes of the DNA in a way that does not naturally occur in nature. So we know that hybridization can occur naturally when plant seeds, one breed kind of mix with seeds of another breed. However, when you're talking about GMOs, you're talking about something like taking a tomato and infusing jellyfish chromosomes with that tomato to give the skin more of a glossy texture and make it look more appealing. That's one of the reasons that they do GMOs, is to kind of make foods look more appealing. Other reasons, at least this is part of the justification, if you will, that we are given, is we are told that GMOs are how we're going to feed the world. Now, if you're a believer, stop and think about that for a second. God created the world. He created us, you guys, in such perfect order that before he even put humans onto the earth, we had air to breathe. We had plants producing that. We had sunlight. We had water. We had everything needed to sustain life. Do we need scientists to manipulate creation in a way that does not naturally occur in order to feed God's creation? Just even thinking about that logically, to me, answers a pretty big question. We should really be thinking about this. What does it mean to the Lord that we are playing God with our food and with the world? That we think it's necessary for us to create something to feed the world that God didn't already do. He provided us with all of the food that we need. And part of the flaw in the argument that this is a sustainable way to feed the world is that genetically modified seeds can't reproduce. So farmers are then enslaved to the seed manufacturer to continuously purchase new seed. They are enslaved to the seed manufacturers to continue to purchase seed year after year, instead of having one plant that produces seed, that when it goes to seed, you can save the seed and then replant it the next year. So it's a real disadvantage to the farmers. It's a disadvantage to the population as a whole, and to the sustainability of crops and of our food system, because now we are reliant on manufactured seeds. Let alone, we know when God created plants, God created animals, he said, it is good. You can eat this. He made our bodies to break those things down. Our digestive systems know what to do with them. The cells in our body know how to utilize those nutrients. They know what to do with those particles. However, when you take something that is not created by the Lord, that's been created in a lab, and put that inside of your body, we only understand, no matter how smart the scientist is, the scientist doesn't fully understand every aspect of your body to know exactly the minute ways that that product is going to impact your body. Let alone it's never been tested for that either. But if we don't know, if our bodies don't recognize the food, I should put quotes around that, don't recognize the product, what kinds of things could that be causing to occur in our bodies? So it impacts our bodies, it impacts our communities, and I would argue that it impacts our soul, because it is quite a statement of pride to say, God didn't do it well enough. We can do it better. And the original sin was pride. I don't know that that's something that we should be messing with. So now you know, okay, should we not? How do we even know what genetically modified foods are? How do you recognize them? And that's one of the dangers, is they are so prominent in today's food supply that most people don't even know they're consuming them. They don't have to be labeled. You would think that something created in a lab would have to be labeled when it's sold in a grocery store. Not the case. Not the case. Instead, the burden of labeling goes on organic. And that's why you see organic farmers, or tomatoes. An organic tomato isn't anything relatively new. It's not a new fad. An organic tomato is the tomato that God created, grown the way that God created it to be grown. But they have to label it in order to differentiate it and say, this one was not made in a lab. This one did not have chemicals added in any way, shape, or form. So organic is the closest that you will find to God's creation. Heirloom seeds cannot, by definition, be genetically modified. Organic cannot, by definition, be genetically modified. So those are two ways to know for sure that you are not consuming GMOs. The other way is to look for the label with the butterfly. This is your non-GMO project verified label. They are being verified in a third-party lab. Now, you might see these also on products also labeled organic, and that's because if it's not labeled 100% organic, it can still contain portions of genetically modified things that may have snuck in from other farms, neighboring farms, food supply, because it's so contaminating everything. That non-GMO project is one of the only ways that we know that it's been tested that way. So look for those things. Look for companies that are open about their sourcing. Look for companies that are transparent with that allow you to ask questions, that you can call, that you can visit farms, that you could, if you know your farmer, it's one of the best things. It's why we love shopping at farmers markets. But the non-GMO project label is wonderful. The organic label is wonderful. The heirloom seeds, looking for that. Something that just says non-GMO without the non-GMO project verified label, you're going to need to dig a little deeper, because there's not really any regulation for that. The top genetically modified products that you always want to look for those labels on are corn, wheat, soy, cotton, and sugar beets. Those are your top 5 genetically modified products in the world. Most of them, unless they are labeled non-GMO or organic, are going to be, because over 80% of the supply that is grown in this world of the corn. And now when you think corn, it's not just, oh, are you eating corn? The good news is popcorn. There's no GMO popcorn yet, so popcorn, you're pretty safe. But things like corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup, corn flour, these kinds of things, lots of colorings made with those dextrose. If it's corn derived, you want to make sure xylitol can be corn derived. These are things ways that GMOs hide in our food supply. So corn, wheat is pretty obvious, I feel like. Sugar beets. If something just says sugar, it's likely sugar from sugar beets. It's derived from GMO sugar beets. So you want to look for cane sugar. If it's cane sugar, then it came from sugar cane and not sugar beets. You're going to be safer. Those are some of the simple tips and tricks So what questions do you guys have about GMOs? If you have any questions, pop them in the comments below, or else feel free to reach out to me via any of my social channels linked in the description box below. Enjoy this video. I look forward to connecting soon. Cheers, friends.